So recently I've been getting more and more questions about paid ads, specifically how to set them up and make sure they actually attract the right people so you don't just piss your ad spend up the wall. And the reason for that is because currently I'm paying about $45 to get a qualified call on the calendar for one of my clients, which means literally even from an ad spend of like $100 a day or a couple $100 a day, you can pretty much pack out your calendar with like 5 to 10 sales calls, which for most people, that's plenty. So in this video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you basically my process of setting up. So hopefully you can get something similar for your offer. For context, I've helped like 300 people set up their lead gen systems in different niches, like kind of agency, professional services, coaching, etc., like typical online stuff. So I'm pretty confident this is gonna help you if you actually take this video and implement it. Now, obviously I'm not gonna show you the exact ads, funnels, and scripts and all that kind of stuff, because that kind of thing is only accessible to my legit clients, like people that pay me and stuff like that. But I'm going to cover everything you need in this video so you can basically get going with it. And if you want a more in-depth and complete guide, you can get that in the description. And if you want a really in-depth guide and one-to-one help and potentially even done for you services and things like that, because you want to just skip the BS and start figuring this stuff out in terms of how you're going to scale, then you can find those links in the description as well. One thing I want you to keep in mind though, is that this isn't something that's working 6 months ago. This is not something that's working for a guru course type thing. This is something that's working for a B2B offer, so business to business, that has an LTV of over $20,000 on cold traffic. This is not some beginner thing. And right now, if you're stuck with ad campaigns that don't convert, they don't get qualified leads, and you're wasting your time trying to get cold outreach to work and things like that, or even worse, maybe relying on referrals and leaving your business growth to chance, then I strongly suggest you watch this video. And especially, I would avoid going on YouTube and trying to follow some guru who made something work in like 2017 when it was on easy mode, because this is the stuff that's actually going to help you grow. But anyway, I'm going to stop yapping and jump into the screen share so you can see what you actually need to be able to get this to work these days. So before you even do anything, this is quite literally step 0. You need to figure out where are your numbers at, and here's why. I've seen many instances where I'll have either a client or someone who shows me their ad account. They'll say, oh, look at my ads. They're terrible. My cost per call is up at $300 or $500 or whatever it is. And they'll be thinking, I'm going to turn off my ad account because, I just don't know what to do. My ads suck. And then I'll ask them something that's very point blank is, what's your cost per acquisition? And how much is the campaign making you? What's the profit? And they'll say, oh, well, yeah, we're actually closing 50% of the lead. So our cost per acquisition is like $700 and our offer's $5K. And I'll be saying, oh, so you're at about a 5x ROAS or a little bit above a 5x ROAS. And they'll say, yeah. And I'll be like, well, what are you doing? Like, why the hell would you turn off that campaign just because the number on the screen or the number on your cost per call is a little bit higher than what you expected? So the thing that you need to take into account there is that just because your ad account doesn't look sexy, that does not mean that you're not running a profitable campaign. And the thing is, if you don't run your numbers before the campaign, you're literally going to be running around in the dark trying to figure out where the hell you're going. And if you don't have your numbers and you're running around in circles and you've got thousands of dollars at stake and you don't even have visibility on what's meant to be happening or what could be happening, you may as well literally light money on fire. So before you do anything, number one, you need to figure out what cost per call can your offer tolerate. So for example, if you have a $5,000 offer, you might be able to tolerate a $300 cost per call for someone really qualified. That means, you're paying $300 to get someone on the phone. 1 in 4 of those close. You have a cost to acquire the customer of about $1,200 or $1,500. And on every one of those deals, you make $5K. So you're happy. But you might have something where that's not the case and you need to get your cost per call way down. But again, the point there is that if you don't know that going into the equation, you're going to be trying to run your ads and you're not going to have any idea what's profitable. You're not going to know what good looks like. You're not going to know, when should I raise spend? You're not going to know when I should cut a campaign or anything like that. So that's literally step 0. Before you even take one step, do that, run the finances, figure out what's my LTV, what's my ideal cost to acquire a customer, what can I afford? And basically that's going to determine what do I need to spend to get someone on the phone, and then how many of those people do I need to close? As an example, let's say you get 10 people on the phone and you pay $100 each. So that's going to cost you $1,000. Out of those 10 people, how many of those are going to close? Let's say you close 2 of those people, and let's say your offer is $3K, and then now all of a sudden you're figuring out exactly what your numbers are going to be, and then you'll be thinking, oh shit, well if I do that, I'm going to be hyper profitable, and that is exactly what you need. You need target cost to acquire a customer, you need target cost per call, you need target close rate, you need all these numbers laid out before you even do it. But the problem there is that even if you have a good target cost per call, if your offer sucks, nothing is even going to matter because your target cost per call is going to be going through the fucking roof. So first things first, and this is the most important thing. Number one, this is literally a live ad account that in the last 3 days has booked 27 plus calls. But most importantly, literally the most hilarious thing is that in this exact niche, so I have a friend who they came to me and said, look, dude, I paid this consultant like 10, 12K. I've spent about 6K on ads. I bought a bunch of softwares to get this thing to work. But I've literally booked 0 qualified calls. Like I've got no qualified calls whatsoever. So I was like, oh shit, that's pretty bad. Show me the ads, run me through everything, what's going on, kind of like, what's the problem? So what I did was I went through his ads, I watched all the ads, and a really interesting part of the process was that it wasn't that his ads were bad. I was looking at the ads, I was like, this is some good copy. Like whoever you're working with, they're writing good copy. And I was looking at the funnel and the landing page and all that different type of stuff, but none of it had any effect. And it was in the exact same industry as what I'm looking at in this actual ad account, which is, again, it's the same landing page, it's the same funnel, it's the same style of VSL. There's no real kind of magic sauce when it comes to the other stuff. The thing that ended up making all the difference, where literally a guy I know is getting 0 qualified calls from 6K in spend, thousands of dollars in consultant fees, etc., compared to this account, is the offer. And I know a lot of people tell you, oh, you've got to fix the offer, you've got to get, a really good offer. But they don't actually explain what that means. And therefore, as a result, you start your ad campaigns and you kind of just run traffic towards this copy or this kind of messaging and this offer that, number one, is never going to work. And that leads to literally wasting thousands and thousands of dollars. But when you make this change and you start talking about your offer and you start using your messaging in a little bit of a different way, then it becomes like a massive game changer. This one change will literally completely 180 flip your ads. Number one is stop talking about features. When you look at your offering and what you're bringing to the market, you cannot talk about the things that are within your offer. For example, our software has all these dashboards, it has all this different stuff. Our agency is going to run your ads. Our coaching program has 107 calls. But the thing is, to a cold lead, any feature, anything you add in is just a chore. So when you're speaking to a stranger, why the hell would they want to get on a call with whoever your coach is? Why would they want to learn a new software and spend time on it? Really think about this stuff. If you're going to get a new software into someone's flow, that is a huge amount of work and a huge amount of risk. Their whole team is probably trained on one certain software and you're trying to introduce something completely new. And you're trying to say, oh, well, this feature is going to add so much value to your life. But it's like you're not articulating it in the way that's actually going to get you a result to a freezing cold lead, like I said. Another one, why would someone let your agency run their ads when you could blow up their account and bankrupt them because it's their main sales channel? Like, let's give you an example, an e-com store spending $500K a month on ads. If you go into their account and make one mistake, they are completely screwed. Another example, I know a lot of people that run sales agencies. Why would they want you to run their sales if you could mess up their entire process and burn them leads? So it's an understanding of risk here and an understanding of what is the prospect actually thinking when you are a complete stranger trying to pitch them something. So what you need to do is understand what is going to make something valuable, and I'll get out the trusty value equation here. So you need to think, am I giving them a dream outcome? Is it likely that they're going to actually get it? Is it fast and is it low effort? So when you look at it through this lens, you need to look at this first and then create your offer. You don't need to just make an offer and say, I run Facebook ads, and then try and retroactively do it. You need to create something from thin air that is a dream outcome, that is likely to happen, that is going to happen fast, and that is going to essentially have low effort and sacrifice. And you use that offer, you create that offer to push to ads. You do not create a cold, friendly offer backwards. You don't, like I said, make up an offer and then try and get it to work on ads. You need to look at this equation. You need to create something from thin air that is specifically made for advertising, and then you can focus on upselling them to your other services. So as an example, if you're a landing page and CRO agency, like my business partner, Matt, he's not going to go to cold traffic and say, hey, I'm going to run some split tests on your page. You're going to pay me 10 grand and it's going to be happy days, because no one wants to take that. That's just a shit deal if you don't know who they are. and you don't already trust them, because you're going to think, I don't know, a stranger doing tests on my page for 10 grand a month, I could probably live without that. Sounds like they could mess it up. Sounds like it's going to take ages and be a waste of time. And I don't even, I want the outcome, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. So it's not actually valuable. Let's go to the other side of things, where let's say you get a dream outcome of getting a guaranteed result, and it's going to happen in the next 14 days, and I'm not going to have to do anything. It's a very different equation. It's a very different situation in terms of the value. And what you need to keep in mind is that if you're not talking about an outcome, you're going to have a very tough time. Again, if you're talking about, I'm going to install this specific software and you're going to, do this, that is a chore. That is not something that a stranger wants. It's not something they've asked for, and you're just adding more work to their plate. And again, if you don't have proof, you're screwed again, because they're not going to think it's going to actually work. And if you're talking about something that has massive risk, again, like let's say you're trying to run Facebook ads for someone and you're going to mess up their ad account potentially, they're going to look at that and think, well, let's say he does really well. Maybe I'll get an extra, 50 grand a month from my ad account. Let's say he does badly. That's going to cost me probably my entire business. I'm going to go bankrupt if that's the case. And in the example of Matt, let's say he's running CRO tests for an e-com store. The risk is literally $10,000. So it's like, all right, if I'm risking $10,000 and I think maybe he's going to get a winning test and that makes me 50K, it's probably not it's not an asymmetrical bet, where this is definitely a safe and low risk thing for me to engage with. Because when you go to ads, you need something that's going to have a risk to reward ratio of at least 10 to 1. Like, they need to look at it and think, wow, this is very, very low risk. I have a huge upside that I can potentially get. And this is a great idea to click through this ad. And that is a good example of why people use free lead magnets, is because you don't necessarily have to have a huge upside with the lead magnets. It just has to be valuable. And because the risk is so low because it's free, boom, you can just get that done. And it's much lower risk than if you're running traffic to a recurring offer or something like that. And again, this will completely transform your ads. It is going to have a dramatic impact as soon as you understand what is the risk on the other side of my offering and how can I reduce that. As an example, if you're a sales agency and you're thinking, well, I want to get my foot in the door with a bunch of different companies. Well, how do I reduce the risk so that me jumping on the calendar and taking calls isn't going to lose them a shit ton of money and I can get them a pretty decent result? Because when you look at it through this lens, you start to realize that people aren't necessarily looking to get a huge upside when they're talking with a stranger or someone that they've worked with for the very first time. What they're looking for is quite often something that's going to have decent upside, but very low risk. They're more concerned with the risk, particularly in today's kind of climate. And again, the other thing is that you need to make it fast. One of my favorite examples to talk about when it comes to this stuff is that I will never, ever, ever, ever order Uber Eats from a restaurant that's more than like 30 minutes away, because it's just so much less valuable to me if my food's going to arrive in 45 minutes compared to if it's going to arrive in 15 minutes. So if you can get a result for someone quickly, it's going to solve their problem, they think it's going to occur, and you can do it fast, that's always a really good metric to look at. Like, for example, people often think these industries are so saturated, but at the end of the day, if you're faster and you're a little bit better, you're going to get the client, because people need to buy services. And if they didn't, the industries wouldn't exist. So if you're faster, if you're better, if you're more likely to get the outcome, you are going to get the business. And again, this is something that I spend a huge amount of time with my clients on, is what exactly are you going to go to cold traffic with? What's the offer going to look like? How are you going to upsell them? All these types of questions. That is where I spend 80% of my time working with clients, because that's where a lot of the actual leverage is when you're looking at how am I going to get results on ads. A lot of this is happening outside of the actual ad account, because the preparatory stuff, like the stuff before you even run the ad or write the ad, is the stuff that's going to make the ads work. You don't want to, like I said, make up an offer, run the ad, and then think, oh shit, I need to try and make it work, because that's just going to be basically a race to the bottom. But once you do have the offer, let's say you have something that's low risk, it's fast, it's high perceived likelihood of achievement, then you can start writing your ads. And I'm not going to act like the offer is the whole thing, because once you have an offer, you will absolutely need to test a shit ton of copy. But what I've got here is a really good framework to be able to create, write, and test ads, not only in terms of the copy, but also in terms of how to do it in the actual ad account. Now, 9 times out of 10, when you're writing these ads for your offer, you're going to want to use direct response video ads. So these are just your typical kind of talking head videos that you'll see in your feed. But like I said, the key here is testing your messaging in an efficient way. And from what I've found, these ads could have a higher cost per lead, but you're going to book far more sales calls from them, and the calls that you do get are going to be much more qualified because the leads have seen your face and they're more bought in than someone who maybe they download a guide from a static ad or something like that. And what you'll also see is that someone that's watched a video on the actual ad platform like Meta, they're going to go to your VSL or whatever's on your landing page with much higher intent, and they're going to have higher watch rates on those VSLs. So it's very important that most of the time you're probably going to run you're probably going to run video ads. In terms of the testing structure, what you want to do is you want to make 2 different body sections of the ads, which is basically the offer and the main stuff of your ad. And then you're going to film 10 3 to 5 second hooks and then edit those hooks onto each body. So then you basically end up with 20 different ads to test. Now, in terms of the ads, what most people do is they say, hey, if you're this criteria or if you're this person exactly, that is going to essentially mess you up because you're just going to kind of, no one's going to watch the ad type thing. Like as soon as they hear that, they're just going to think, it's just it's another ad. It's got nothing for me. It's the same thing as talking about a feature. You're talking about a feature of your ideal customer and not the actual state of that ideal customer. You're not talking about their pains. You're not talking about what they want. You need to immediately lean towards things like a value proposition, and you need to lean towards things like solving problems and pain points. Again, a big part of this is actually understanding your customer. What situation are they in? What do they hate? What are they dealing with right now? What are the current solutions that are available? Because when you do that, hooks should just start flying off the top of your head. Oh, I know my customers hate dealing with agencies. I know they currently have to wait 3 months for XYZ result to happen. I know they're currently struggling with X, Y, and Z. And that is what you end up putting in your hook, and not the classic, if you're a real estate agent in, X, Y, and Z, making over 100 grand a month, then do X, Y, Z. Like that is not going to be as powerful as the first one. So then what you want to do is follow this structure in terms of the ad. So you want a hook that includes an audience call out. Now, what do I mean by a hook that includes an audience call out? I mean, you want your hook to include something that appeals to your ideal customers. So you want them to immediately hear that problem, that value prop, that objection, that thing they're struggling with, whatever, and immediately resonate with that. You're trying to get them to kind of in the first 3 seconds of the ad, just look at, oh shit, that's for me. Because as soon as you do that, boom, you're in the clear and you can run with a direct offer. Now, whether you're giving away something free, whether you have a free audit, whatever, literally introduce the offer straight away, because what you're doing here is you're introducing a result or an outcome you can help them get. So you get their attention and then you say, I'm going to get you this result. I'm going to get you this outcome. I'm going to do this for you. You are going to get this. Because again, when you do that, it takes them away from, what's in this software and things like that, and straight towards, you are going to get this, and then you back it up with, here's how I know you're going to get it. We've done this X, Y, and Z times. We've worked with people like A, B, and C, and then you can kind of explain the offer only then. And remember, the only reason that you really ever explain your offer in your ads or explain any sort of step-by-step is just to, number 1, handle objections, number 2, bring in more value propositions, and number 3 is to get them to think it's going to work. And that's the only reason. As soon as you flip it and start thinking, the only reason I'm introducing features is to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, value dump, and then also just handle objections. So when you introduce a point, instead of saying, we're going to have 107 coaching calls a week, you say things like flipping that into a benefit by introducing a point such as, step 1, what we're going to do is we're going to get you on a call with a specialized coach that's going to look at your exact situation, and they're going to diagnose what you have. We have X, Y, and Z coaches that cover A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So whatever problem you have, we can get it solved very quickly. So again, the way you articulate it is you're going to get a dream outcome. It's going to be fast. It's going to be guaranteed. It's going to be likely, et cetera, et cetera. So again, that's the only reason you explain the offer is to handle objections. And again, as an example, if their objection might be they work with a bunch of coaches that aren't specialized to their niche, then the way you explain that point might be to handle that specific objection that you commonly see. So you might say, and we've got coaches that handle each individual niche. So rather than dealing with someone that doesn't know how to help you, you're going to get specialized and paired up with someone that actually is going to be able to help you. So again, that's a feature, but you need to turn it into a benefit when you're explaining it in the context of the ad. Boom. Then just do a CTA, aka the first CTA. That'll be like tap the link, download, book a call, whatever, watch the video, etc. Then you want to circle back around and reduce the risk and tell them why it's a no-brainer. So what does that mean? Again, how fast is it? How much proof do you have? What's it going to cost them? What's the risk? So you can say things like, the risk here is, let's say you don't click the video and watch exactly how you can get X, Y, and Z result. You're going to be in the exact same position that you're in now. However, let's say you do click the link. You're going to watch a video. It's completely free. It's only 3 minutes. It's not going to take too much of your time, and the upside is this. So that's why it's a no-brainer. Tap the link below, and I'll see you on the other side. And that's exactly what you need to do. And if you're thinking it sounds like a VSL, you would be correct, because any ad is just really a mini VSL, whether it's in the ad feed, whether it's on a page, and that's basically that. So now you've got your offer, you know what cost per call you can tolerate because you've already done your financial model, and you've got some banger ads. So what you need to do now is just kind of pick the funnel that you want to run. Now, I made a video a couple of days ago, I'll link it in the description. It basically runs through two of the best funnels. One of them's a lead magnet funnel and one of them's a VSL funnel. So go watch that video, get your funnel up. It's going to be pretty simple. Like, you're either going to make a lead magnet funnel where you're going to give away something completely for free, get someone to opt in and then follow up with them, or you're going to run a VSL funnel where your ads are going to just run to a short video that basically pitches your services, and then you're going to try and get someone to book a call. But either way, now that you have the idea that you're going to run with, you're going to run the financial model, like I said, then you're going to run with the exact offer that you created at the start of this video, and then you have your ads, you've got your funnel that you watched in another one of my videos that I linked in the description. Then basically all you're doing is fixing leakage, because like I said, you figured out I can afford a $200 cost per call. You're going to launch your ads. Let's say it gets to a $300 cost per call, and you're going to think, shit, what do I do? And then what you're going to do is you're going to test more ads. You're going to do things like, is my landing page the issue? Is my VSL the issue? Is my appointment setter the issue? Is my close rate too low? Do I need to really work on my close rate and do some reps with the sales team and really train the shit out of them, because they're stopping me from scaling your ads? What ends up happening here is that now you're in the game. You launch and problems arise. So as an example, in the account that I literally shared at the start of this video, we launched our cost per call is great. Our cost per lead is great. We're calling leads. They're booking in, really, really excited. And they're looking to buy. And then the closer on this deal starts fucking up and closes at like 10%. And it's like, well, what do we do now? Now you got to really train the rep and do a shit ton of training until essentially they can get back up to KPI. So then they get back up to KPI, they start closing 30%, and it's happy days, and you start scaling the campaign. Then what's going to happen is you're going to run out of call slots on your calendar, and you're going to need to add another closer. That closer might suck, so you need to start training them up. Then all of a sudden, you've got two good closers, they're closing, then your cost per call falls off a cliff, or it starts rising because your ad spend can't scale outside the initial audience. So what you need to do then is, again, test more ads, get better creative. You might need to add another campaign and things of that nature. But really, at around 5 to 10 calls per day, all you need to do is run at a couple of $100. You need to spend enough money to where at your cost per call, you can get 5 to 10 calls. So for example, if you're running at $200 cost per call, you're going to need to spend $1,000 a day to get 5 calls. If you're running at a $50 cost per call, you only need $500 a day to get 10 calls, you know? So it's just a matter of figuring out the exact maths that you need, the exact KPIs that you need to hit, and then you need to figure out how am I going to hit those KPIs. So if I need a certain cost per call, that means my ads are going to need to be at a certain level. My offer is going to need to be at a certain level in order to support those ads. And my VSL is going to need to be at a certain level to convert as many of the clicks as possible into actually booked calls. And then my sales team is going to need to be at a certain level in order to close those deals rather than just burning them and lighting money on fire. So again, in terms of the constraints that arrive, what we do is we make a system for each of these things. So what do we do when our cost per call rises? What do we do when our close rate is shit? What do we do when our cost per lead is really good, but none of those leads are getting on a phone call and turning into deals? So in terms of where you're picking exactly what you need to do and taking actions, that is what it is. You create systems for each of these things, and then you basically just take the right action as you go and as you scale. So again, those systems are not things that I share on YouTube. Those are things that I share either in lead magnets, of which I have in the description, in my coaching program, 1000x Leads, which will be in the description, or with my done for you clients, which I'll also have in the description. But either way, if you like this video, stick around on the channel. We make plenty of videos like this about running ads, getting clients, sales, all that type of stuff that's going to help you scale in 2025. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.